All right, so this is Justin Cook again with the Empire Flippers. Just want to thank you for listening in. These interviews are designed to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We really hope these are helpful for you in making a buying decision, and we're ready to roll. So, Andre, let's talk a little bit about the site you have listed for sale with us, buddy. Can you tell me a little bit about your background in building, buying, and selling websites?
Well, got I would say about 4 or 5 years of experience with building sites. I first started out, we had a mom and pop shop. We had a carpet cleaning business that we ran, and we just needed to be found on the web, get more clients. So that was my first experience with either putting a site together. And I started learning about internet marketing there, and then kind of got involved with some AdSense sites and started making some money through there and really got the ball rolling. And then I started moving into other networks with CPA and affiliate offers. So, but yeah, it's been about 5 years now that I've been building sites and making money from online.
So you got your start trying to advertise a carpet cleaning company, and then you started realizing, hey, I can make a little bit of money with some sites if I put some AdSense on them, if I start to monetize them. And you kind of, moved up the value chain. So you've done AdSense. Obviously, you've done QuinStreet, which is a CPA lead generation company that we're going to get into in a bit. What other monetization methods have you tried?
I've done a lot of offers through Max Bounty, which is CPA as well. Did a little bit with some just affiliate offers with just private type places where mostly all CPA, just cost per action type stuff, where if they happen to buy something through the website, I'd get some kind of commission. But for the most part, it was the big earners for me were AdSense and QuinStreet.
So why do you prefer QuinStreet or CPA over AdSense, or do you?
I got my start with AdSense. Didn't know anything else, that there was anything else available at the time. And I loved AdSense because I thought AdSense was awesome. You didn't have to really sell the click a lot. All they had to do was click on some kind of ad and you'd get money. So you don't have to worry about trying to sell the lead or getting to fill out any kind of form. But then I guess it was the big ban in 2012 that they did to a ton of publishers. It hit me. It was right around Christmas time. And it just kind of left a sour taste in my mouth with AdSense. I still have lots of sites on AdSense, but it kind of made me not let AdSense be my main income earner because of how easily they could take it away. I've heard from some people that now they're a little bit more lenient. They'll give you warnings and whatnot, but before it was just boom, it's gone. Whereas QuinStreet, you could tell that they really appreciated the stuff that you sent to them. If you're sending them leads, they're making money, you're making money, and they're not going to do anything to stop that. Whereas AdSense, it just seemed silly that if, you had a site that was making them a ton of money, that they would knock you out for no reason.
It's crazy. Our buddy Spencer over at Niche Pursuits dealt with a ban, and he ended up getting his AdSense account shut down. I know a bunch of other people did as well. He ultimately got that fixed, but that is a, scary position. I think, but that is the case whether you're with QuinStreet or AdSense or whatever. But like you're saying, AdSense or Google is such a large organization that even if you're making them, $20,000 a month, or you're making $20,000 a month, you're small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Whereas you might be a bigger deal for some of the smaller CPA players where they really want your business, right? Because you're helping them grow a much smaller organization.
Right. And what I like about QuinStreet is that even though they're somewhat small, they are a publicly traded company. They do some insane $1 million a year in revenue, and they have a lot of different verticals. So if you wanted to expand the education, you're able to, which I've been kind of toying a little bit with. But yeah, they're a big company, but yet you still feel important. You have a contact to work with.
Well, that's definitely helpful when you compare it to AdSense, where, it's like trying to get a hold of someone over there can be excruciatingly painful. Let's talk a little bit about niche selection. Now, why did you choose this niche? What is it about this niche that you thought was interesting regarding, pharmaceutical education?
Well, like I said, I started out with AdSense sites. So I was going after pretty much a niche that had a high CPC at that time. I was just looking for something that, you look to see what the CPC was, and it also had good search volume. So it was just typical, the same way you pick any niche, you look to make sure that the interest is there and that the CPC is high. And it just so happened that around the time I was building it, I was starting to build a relationship with QuinStreet. So I decided that I was just going to make it solely a QuinStreet site since I deal with their education vertical. And at the time, QuinStreet, I just realized that it would be a better idea because of, they pay on a per lead on average is about $18 or so a lead, whereas a click would just be maybe 50 cents to $1. So it just made more sense to go with them. And the other reason was when I was talking to my rep at QuinStreet, he mentioned that pharmaceutical was one of their hot niches, that they have a lot of what they call inventory, which is a lot of schools that are wanting leads in that area.
It's pretty cool that, your rep from QuinStreet is actually giving you ideas on like different niches you can go after. I mean, that's one of the benefits you get when, you get those personal touches. I mean, you're not going to get that from Google telling you which niches you can go after, but you might with a smaller CPA company. And it's funny, me calling them a smaller company when they're doing millions of dollars, right? Like they're not that small, but they're small comparatively or relatively. So, you created this niche based on CPC. So you saw some higher CPC, you saw some good search volume, and the fact that your rep told you this might be a good industry to go after. Is there anything else about the niche? I mean, do you have any personal experience in the niche, or is it just something that you went after solely because you thought it looked profitable and something you could do?
Right. Just because it looked profitable. At the time, I was getting more experience with the type of site that I was building. It was, particular, it was just a matter of choosing different, niches. So I knew that, I didn't know anything about the niche at all. I just knew that it would profitable if I could get it to rank. So that's what I went ahead and did. I like to do a lot of tests. I run many, many tests, and out of, sometimes I build like 20 sites and just have 2 or 3 winners. But with every test that I do, I learn something different. And even to this day that I've been building them for 3 or 4 years and I've had really good successes, I'm still doing constant testing.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, one of the things I love about this site is that it's basically a job replacement business, right? I mean, you could actually make in $3,600 a month net. I mean, you could buy this site and really go off to a beach in Bali and chill, work on your site. And that's really cool. What I think is interesting though too is that from a builder perspective, that sounds fantastic. And if you could replicate that, you would do that every single day. But the truth of the matter is, as a builder, you have a failure rate. And you have a failure rate. I mean, you said 85 to 90% of the time. You'll build 20 sites and 2 or 3 might make it. So that's a heck of a lot of work going into sites that are losers. We call them just losers, right? Where they don't make any money. They're just not hitting the way that some of the other sites hit. So that's, I think, one of the risks as a builder. The benefit obviously is when you do have a winner, it's worth quite a bit of money. Let's talk a little bit about your reason for selling. Why are you choosing to sell this site instead of just keeping it?
Well, we're actually in the process of looking to either build a home. We spoke about builder, but build a home or buy a home. We actually, with our last sale we did through you guys, we were raising funds to adopt a baby. And we went through the adoption. Everything went great. So now we just want to kind of set all our roots down. And so I'm selling a few of my sites to just come up with the amount needed for the down payment and any extra costs and expenses that go with that.
All right, so here's the big, well, first off, congrats on your adoption, man. But
thank you.
The other thing is, so are you gonna build, or you're gonna buy, man? You're gonna build a house from scratch, or you're gonna buy one?
I think we're gonna build because we got a big family. The baby was actually our 4th. We have a 5th on the way too. So it's gonna be a big family, and we're having a hard time finding a house to fit our needs. I mean, I work from home, doing the sites full time, and so we just need something that's going to fit us a little bit better. So I think we're going to build from scratch to be able to accommodate all of our needs.
Awesome, man. One of the questions we get a lot from buyers is they want to know that if they buy the site from you, that you're not going to build right afterwards 3 or 4 sites that compete directly in the industry. So, what assurances can you give them that you're not going to be targeting them as a new competitor to the site you just sold them?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm obviously going to I'm staying in the education niche. I do a lot of volume through QuinStreet. So I'm not getting out of the QuinStreet area with education. But with pharmacy, I mean, I don't have any plans on building any pharmacy sites or anything like that. I mean, and to be honest, this is not the only pharmacy site that I have. This is my winner. Like, in the process of testing, I built a good maybe 8 or 9 other ones, and they just don't rank. So Even if I were to sell it and turn around and try to even make an exact replica, it's just, there's something specific about this site that it just took off, and the rankings have stuck through all the zoo that Google has thrown out. And I don't see it, changing anytime soon, just because we've been through so many updates in just the past year alone. And you hear people complaining that rankings went up, rankings went down, did all this. This site has been stable from the day it was live, pretty much.
Let's talk a little bit about the site history. When was the site built?
I want to say around March of 2013 was when I started building it.
So tell me about kind of how it took off. I mean, was it a slow burner? Did it take off out of the gate? Was it 2 months in? It was crushing it? Like, what was kind of the trajectory on the site's growth?
From the get-go, it was a winner. It was from the get-go, it was ranking where it needed to rank, and the rankings have stuck. And the main thing is with these kind of sites is just the traffic getting to them. If there's traffic coming in, they're going to generate leads just because of the way that I've set them up, and it's a proven model that I have. And from the get-go, the rankings were there, the traffic started coming in, so it started generating leads from. I think I started towards the end of February, but when I looked at the lead reports in March, I would say like 13, 15, it was already bringing in leads daily.
Cool. Okay. Now we've actually on the listing page, we've got earning statements going back to December, so you can see some stability and some earnings, through the last 6 months. At what point did you realize that this was like a winner? This would take off. It was right away. It seems like. Is that common? Normally, when you build out sites, the first couple of months, you're like, yeah, this one's a hit.
To be able to realize that it's going to be a hit, yeah, it's usually I can tell within the first month if it's going to be good or not. I do have some sites that randomly will be dead for 3-4 months and then just pop up all of a sudden in the rankings, but the majority of the ones that I consider my good stable sites from the very beginning, from the first month or the first few weeks that they're live, I can tell whether they're going to do good or not. And the vast majority of them happen to be duds, but you just keep on going.
Andre, we talk to people and we ask them often, like, what is working and, like, what's successful. Can you tell me what you've tried with the site that really didn't work? Is there anything that you tested through and you were like, oh, nope, that's no good?
With this site in particular, I mean, I did do some tests where I compared it, since I do have AdSense, where I would have both AdSense and QuinStreet on there. And when I did have both of them on there, I felt that it was diminishing the QuinStreet leads. And it just didn't make sense to have both of them, because with AdSense it was maybe $1 a click, whereas a lead was anywhere from $18 to $25. So I felt like it was distracting them from what I really wanted them to do. But other than that, I haven't given I've built so many sites and I've done so much testing that I feel like sometimes I get these home runs and I don't really, instead of going back to them and kind of exploiting and getting the most I can out of them, I kind of just let them sit and move on to the next one. And, you kind of forget about them, which I guess it's a good thing, because, it's been sitting there without me doing anything since I built it back in March. I really have not changed the content, have not updated anything, added new content, which is one of the rules that apparently Google puts out that you got to add new content every so often. That site has not gotten any new content since it was built, and it still maintains its ranking. So,
how many pieces of content did you start out with? How much does it have now?
I started adding content for over a period of the month that I built it. It's a large site. It's got about 15,000 pages or so, which might scare some people because you're used to the typical 10 pages or so, but that's just the way that I've done my sites, and it's worked very well. And I like to target, the way it targets the keywords is more on a local based type setup. And that's why they work so well. And I've perfected the system over the past 2-3 years. And it's just, this is what has worked for me and worked very well. So I just continue to do it. But it is a pretty large site.
I actually like your local approach. I mean, you're targeting kind of like the geo-targeted keywords. So in particular, small towns or cities or whatever, people looking for this particular thing, can come across it. Maybe only, 200 people are searching for that, a month in that small city or whatever, but it's enough, and you get paid enough on the leads to make it worthwhile. Let's talk about your backlinking a bit. I mean, how did you build backlinks to the site? Did you build backlinks at all?
None at all. None. I've never, for these type of sites, I mean, I've done a lot of backlinking through my experience, and I've tested a lot with backlinking. But with these sites, I have not had to. They've just ranked right out of the gate without any kind of backlinks or anything, which, most people think that's crazy, but that's just the way they've worked. And then my experience with backlinking in the past has been that, things might rank really well for 2 or 3 months. And then all of a sudden, whatever update Google decides to put out, and the site's dead. So any sites that I built in the past with the same exact setup, but that I did do like social bookmarks and whatnot, those are the sites that died. I've had really good earners and they just died out. Whereas these sites where I didn't build a single backlink to, they have maintained the rankings. Any update that Google throws out, it doesn't fluctuate whatsoever.
What do you attribute your SEO success to? Is it niche selection? Is it keyword research? Is it on-site SEO in terms of like internal link building? Where do you think you've had the most success in terms of your SEO efforts?
I think it's the niche selection and the on-site, the content itself. I think the interlinking could use a lot of help. It's not something that I focused on. I didn't make them like any kind of silo setup or anything like that. It just wasn't something that was kind of popular when I was building the sites, and I never really looked into it. But, they really just rank solely on content alone, and the fact that, the niche, and it was a different approach. It just worked really well with Google loved it pretty much.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about traffic and earnings. Now, earnings is a fun one, so let's start off with that. The site has earned $3,633.74 average net profit over the last 3 months. So it's definitely earning some cash. Now, the majority of that cash comes from regular QuinStreet, and then there's the QuinStreet, what is it, DTST or something like that?
DTST. And that's something new that they added. I say new, but I think it's almost been out for about a year, their program. And basically, it's a difference in leads. Any lead that goes through QuinStreet, I guess, can be shared and resold to other schools. So the schools pay a certain amount for that lead, where they know that they're going to be competing with other schools and whatnot. But now they've added what's called like direct to school. I think that's what DTS stands for. I think P is direct to school placement, maybe what it is. And basically, they're just direct leads to that specific school. They've added a different button so that whenever they click for more info, instead of taking them to a form where they could also get information from other schools, it takes them directly to that school's website. And they've got the infrastructure that will track it, that it came from your site. So if they're on that particular school website and they fill in information or request more information from that school specifically, then you get paid more for that lead. And it could be anywhere from $50 to $80.
So it's exclusive leads to hungrier schools that are willing to pay more to get the right students or, the right leads for potential students. Is that about right?
Right. And they don't come in as often, and they don't come in, maybe they might not come in daily, but on average, the site gets a decent amount of these DTSP leads, which adds to the total revenue. And it's a good, the good thing about them is that they don't get scrubbed as much. They don't, the second that you earn the lead, it's yours because it was direct to the school. So I really like the program that they added. And you have an option to opt in or opt out, but I would definitely continue with DTSP.
Let's talk about your traffic a little bit. You got 4,148 visits in May, of which 3,900, just over 3,900 were from the search engines. So that's pretty heavily leaning toward organic traffic. Mm-hmm. And another interesting point is it's about 80 to 90 cents per visitor. So your site's highly monetized right now. It seems to me a buyer might struggle to squeak more out of the current visitors, and their best approach might be to see what they can do to drive more traffic. One of the questions we get from buyers is, how stable are the organic rankings? Do you track rankings? Do you know kind of what it's ranking for, what it's not, where most of your traffic's coming from?
Well, I don't have a way to track rankings. I don't have anything installed to do that. I focus more on the traffic. I know the traffic has been stable. And it's because it targets so many different cities that, some months, some of the cities may drop off, or some of the other ones go up to the top. I know the traffic itself has been really stable. Like I said, it's made it through all the Google updates of the past year without any dip in traffic or dip in earnings. Been really stable. And I don't see it really going anywhere. The only way I would see it starts losing, it's maybe if backlinks come into the question and, the new buyer were to want to experiment with backlinks, there's a risk that it would get some kind of penalty because of it. But otherwise, if it's left as is, I can see the traffic just staying that way. But I do believe that there is definitely some room on the site itself to try to get more out of the, I believe that you could get more leads from the current traffic, because I honestly have not done any testing whatsoever to see if my setup is really the best. It's just, I found something that works and I went with it. But
that's wild to me, because at 80 cents per visitor that you're monetized, that's pretty good revenue per visitor. I mean, that's really high generally. It's up there with some good e-commerce stores, which generally have a higher revenue per visitor. Like you normally see with AdSense, you'll see 8 cents or 10 cents. And just goes to show you that AdSense may not be the best monetization form. Let me ask a little bit about the opportunities that are possible here. If you were keeping the site, let's say that for whatever reason, no one wants to buy it, you're stuck, you got to keep it. What would you do to focus on growth for the site? What would be kind of your strategy? What are the top 2 things you would look at?
Well, like I said, I would probably play a little bit with the site design. That was just a theme that I have that worked. May not be the best one, may not be the best placement or the wording maybe of the box where it asks them specifically to go ahead and put in a zip code or fill out this for more information, kind of call more attention to it. The content could be changed a little bit to be a little bit more leading them that way. At the time that I built the site, I was just using content that I wanted to rank with, and not specifically, crafted around to what I wanted them to do.
Where'd you get your content from?
I did some research on the BLS website, the Bureau of Labor Services, and then I included some of that information and there's some other statistics from that, but the majority was just basically getting a lot of documents or articles together and kind of pulling ideas from each one, because like I said, I honestly had no idea about the niche when I got into it. So it was just kind of paraphrasing and reading other articles to get the main gist, the main idea.
Let me ask you, if you were a bit riskier, right, and you want to really expand the site over the next 6 to 12 months and you're willing to take some risks, what do you think would be the best opportunity is with someone who's willing to go for it?
If I was going to do some risk, if I wanted to gamble with backlinks, I do think, I've had some positive experiences with backlinks. I just don't think I know how to do them well enough to where you can get away without it getting some kind of penalty. I always get some kind of penalty somewhere whenever I do them, whether it's 2 months or 3 months later. But if somebody knew really how to work the backlink game, because that would solidify the rankings pretty much in all the cities, whereas right now we're, not ranking for every single one of them. The other thing would be probably to add, more content to the site, targeting the same amount of cities, but just maybe targeting a different term that I might have left out, or that we're not getting as much traffic as we can, and making the site grow, maybe double in size. So don't know if that's I don't think that would double the traffic, because we still rank for quite a varying amount of terms. But it might squeeze a few more that we may be missing out on.
What I like, I'll just throw my 2 cents in, but one thing I think that might be effective here is to 80/20 your current traffic sources. So what you could do is do some on-site SEO sculpting, and so try to push some of your link juice to the keywords that are highest volume and that are on top of the second page or bottom of the first page, that have some traction already but just aren't quite there. I think with some tweaks there, you could get to the point where you over 6 months or so, double the traffic you're getting and hopefully double the earnings, the leads that you're providing for QuinStreet. So I think there's an opportunity there too for people that know how to do that know how to build out internal links and really focus on the keywords that, are the most successful for the site now or have the most opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, the site itself doesn't rank for the national term. If they were just somebody was looking without, the city modifier, it doesn't rank for that at all. So, and I think that there's a ton of traffic there I just decided to go for the easy type keywords. But if somebody has experience ranking more national type terms, they would really benefit from this and really beef up the traffic that it's getting.
All right, Andre, so opportunity rarely comes without risk. There's always going to be some risk with websites that are built out. I like the fact that yours doesn't have, a bunch of non-organic backlinks created, but there are some risks that I see pretty clearly, one of them being the organic traffic. What do you think a new buyer should be aware of in terms of risk with this purchase?
Well, I mean, there's always the risk of Google just popping out some new algorithm that's just going to completely wipe out the traffic. I think it's pretty safe to say that, based on all the updates they've done over just the past year alone, because I mean, it feels like they've been throwing out the updates every 2-3 weeks and that the site hasn't been affected by them, I definitely did something right with this site as far as content and no backlinking or anything like that, because it just hasn't, been penalized. And I think that, the major things they wanted to penalize for, they've already thrown those out. And, now they're just kind of cleaning up, maybe tying up some loose ends with their updates that they continue to do. So I think it's a pretty safe bet, but, like I said, nothing's fully secure because of the fact that Google changed its mind. The good thing is that it's, with the site, you pretty much have a guaranteed setup that works. And if Google happens to change something, it may just be as simple as tweaking the page structure a bit or whatnot to continue with the earnings.
Let's talk a little bit about, the additional information or, the add-ons to this purchase. So if someone buys the site from you, how much support are you offering them? Are we talking 15 days of email, 30 days of email and phone? What are you going to give a new buyer?
I forget specifically what we said on the listing, but I'm pretty open to support. I want the new buyer to take it over and not have any issues whatsoever. I think I would specifically said like 2 30-minute phone calls and 30 days of email support. If anything's needed beyond that, I'm available. I mean, I do this full time all the time. I'm always on a laptop. I try to, my hardest to kind of shut off, but it's just hard when you work from home. You're always working pretty much.
I hear you. That's so true.
But, I'm very open to making sure that whoever buys it and it continues to be a success for them. I've done, many flips in the past through FlipUp, or personal deals. And to this day, if they happen to email me, I'll respond and help them out with whatever they need, because I want to make sure that, I value my reputation and I want to make sure that nobody's ever feels like they're in a situation like, this guy ripped me off kind of thing.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about earnout. So sometimes some sellers are willing to take, 50% up front, 50% after training, or 70% up front, 30% holdback over 6 months. Are you willing to do an earnout on this deal? Probably not.
And it's not because I don't trust the site that it's going to continue earning and whatnot. It's because we kind of need the money up front for the down payment, which we'll need to do pretty soon. Otherwise, I'd be pretty open to it. And I've done those kind of deals in the past and have been okay with it. But this situation, we just kind of got to get it, as much as we can accumulated, because I think it's got to sit in our bank account for about 2 months or so.
Yeah, season your funds, yeah.
Right.
Have you heard of this? This is an interesting thing. I interviewed a guy not that long ago, a couple of months ago, and he'd ended up selling the site, and he sold it like a year before, and he was a little bummed because the new owner had just taken off with that, like they were crushing it, and he'd wished he'd kept equity. And there are ways you can do this, like seller holdbacks or whatever, where you keep some equity in the deal. So maybe you give a 10 or 15% discount, and you keep 10% of the ownership of the site. I'm not sure that would be a good fit here, based on what you're looking for, but it's kind of interesting for anyone that is selling their site and they they're a bit worried to let go of their baby in case it does actually take off. That's an option people can take. Well, you know what I mean? It is scary, right? Though when you sell your site,
that was actually my case. My very first experience with Flippa. I had a site that was doing I want to say maybe about $900 or so a month, and I didn't know. I knew that you could get and flip 10 times monthly, but at that time, $9,000 was just like, that's a lot of money. Like, there's no way I'm going to get that. I think I ended up selling the site for about $6,000 4,000, maybe 5,000 or so. So I was very happy with it. And then it turns out the guy that bought it a month later flipped it for about 30,000 or so. And I was like, no way, like I could have made that. So yeah, I could see how that would be an issue. And and even then, the site that I sold on Flippa then was the same idea behind it. That just happened to be AdSense. I wasn't involved with QuinStreet whatsoever, but it just kind of showed me that, I was on the right track with the kind of sites that I was putting together. If somebody was able to take it and sell it for, a month later for 30,000 because the earnings were there.
Cool, Andre. Let's do a quick wrap up. So regarding the sites in the pharmaceutical education niche, over the last 3 months, on average, it's earned $3,600, just over $3,600. It was created in March 2013, and it received 4,148 visits in May, of which 3,936 visits were from search engines. The traffic is mostly organic, and it's mostly like local. It's geographically based, so people are searching in their particular areas and cities and towns and that kind of thing, looking for pharmaceutical education. So if you could give me your 30-second pitch, your elevator pitch on why someone should buy this site as opposed to others or as opposed to not buying at all, what would it be, man? What's your pitch?
Well, the best thing about this site is that it's 100% hands off. I honestly have not touched it since I built it back in March. You don't have to continue adding articles to it. You don't have to continue building links to it. It's just something that if you were to buy and just let it sit, you pretty much guarantee that it's going to make you $3,500, $3,800 a month. So if you want something that, if you want to get involved in the internet game and making money online, but, you don't have that much time, or you just want to see how a truly passive website is built, this is the way to get that insider look, because one thing's browsing through the site, but the other is actually owning it and being able to see how it's put together and how it clicks together.
We actually have a lot of buyers that end up buying sites and they do some reverse engineering to just kind of get a feel for how the guy built it from scratch. And either they have their team build it out or they work on that, or they apply some of the same methodology to some of the other sites in their portfolio that they currently own, thinking, look, I can apply these same tactics and strategies used on this profitable site to my other properties as well. Cool, Andre. Well, thank you so much for being on this, man. I really appreciate it. I think, the potential buyers for the site are going to get some value. I think builders are going to get some value too, talking to someone who, doesn't have a podcast and doesn't have a blog and isn't out there talking about it all the time, but is actually building day to day. You're in the grind, man. You are building profitable, established sites and selling them off for nice profits. So thank you so much for being on, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love working with you guys. It's been awesome. So anything I can do to help or help the community, I love to.
Cool, man. Thanks.